Greetings and salutations, this is the voice of Loquacious of Herd, bringing you his Afterthoughts on My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic, Season 7, Episode 15, titled Triple Threat. I heartily recommend you find and watch the episode itself, sans commentary, before proceeding with either this Afterthoughts review or viewing my full reaction, which is hosted at the link in the description. Please support the official release. Be warned, this Afterthoughts review will contain spoilers for the episode itself. With that out of the way, on to the review. After the wickedly sharp humor of last episode, we're back to something a little more in the vein of a comedy of errors. Situation comedy, misunderstandings, assumptions, and general wackiness. I'm all for a little lighthearted amusement and Spike silliness, especially if it means we get to see some more of some interesting side characters, and get to see new character interactions. Plus, they hit a few nice tidbits of lore in there too. It's an interesting title, Triple Threat. It's a term that's used in a number of ways, most commonly to indicate an individual who is good at three things. In media and the performing arts, for example, a triple threat is a performer who excels at acting, singing, and dancing. But on to the episode. Spike is helping prepare Ponyville for an important guest. List in hand, he oversees the hanging of the banner, then the, removal of the flowers? His casual mention of most dragons generally not liking flowers gives us the first hint of who is coming. Next up, the dragon fire flame of friendship. Yes, Spike, it still burns.
Spike, everything looks great. You're getting yourself worked up for no reason.
I have lots of reasons. In fact, I wrote them down.
You've been hanging around Twilight for too long.
I agree with Starlight. Some of Twilight's, let's call them idiosyncrasies, have clearly rubbed off on Spike over the years. But do go on. What are the reasons for Spike's worry?
Reason number 1. I invited Dragon Lord Ember to Ponyville today. Reason 2, the Dragon Lord is a dragon. Reason 3, she's coming here to learn more about friendship.
Huzzah! It'll be fun to see Ember in the flesh and scales rather than conjured up in one of Twilight's what-if illusory excursions. As for the particular reason for Ember's visit and Spike's concerns today...
According to Ember's letters, the dragons are trying to be friends, but competing is in their nature and it's leading to more and more fights.
Which brings me to reason number 4. The Dragon Lord wants my advice. And as the new official equestrian friendship ambassador to the dragons, I can't let her down.
I know you feel a lot of pressure, but you got this, Spike.
I just want things to be perfect. Thorax!
That's not Ember. That's Thorax.
You're in Ponyville!
Of course I am, silly. You invited me, and I'm not one to back out of an invitation. Hey, Twilight! Hey, Starlight!
Hey!
Ooh, I can't believe you did all this for me. Great banner. Love the stage. What's this flame thingy? Oh, it's pretty.
Thorax, Spike didn't do all of this for you. And how to put this? Changeling ponies with their various insectoid traits should probably steer clear of pretty fires, lest they learn the harsh lessons that moths learn from candle flames. But Spike invited Thorax. Don't get me wrong, I like Thorax and enjoy seeing more of him too, but he's not the creature we were expecting, and his arrival here, now, could be problematic. Oh, I see. A conflict has arrived. Miscommunications and bad timing. But hey, these are all good friends, even if some of them haven't met one another yet. Also, good to see Thorax isn't accidentally setting fire to himself.
I completely forgot. Thorax wrote and said he needed to talk, and I told him to come over. I didn't realize it was the same day I invited Ember. What am I gonna do?
Well, maybe they'll like each other.
Behold! Starlight has uncovered the solution to the upcoming frantic chaos and wild, barely controlled rushing about. Simple, honest mistake on Spike's part. Two of his friends, Ember and Thorax, are both having friendship problems and are in need of Spike's advice and support. Why not get everyone together, introduce a few new folks to one another, and work towards both building friendships and helping friends solve problems at the same time? Well, Spike has worries. Worries that Ember and Thorax, having such different personalities, might not get along very well. Might even find themselves fighting. and as leaders of their respective peoples, kickstarting a war. This is some Twilight Level freaking out from Spike. Admittedly, if Spike didn't freak out and make a poor series of choices here, we wouldn't have much of a conflict for this episode, and this wouldn't wind up being a teachable moment for Spike himself. So between option A, specifically chill, apologize, explain how there's been a scheduling mix-up so there are actually 2 foreign dignitaries arriving seeking Spike's help with friendship problems, and option B, freak out and try to keep them separated and ignorant, today we're going with option B. And the other ponies in the mix, out of concern for Spike, and perhaps deferring to his greater familiarity with both Ember and Thorax, are here to help him with his poor life choices. Oh, it's a setup for plenty of humor, the sort of wacky, awkward humor I usually associate with Monty Python's Flying Circus, Benny Hill, or Fawlty Towers. So Thorax gets railroaded to the castle, and out of the way of Ember's arrival.
You gonna do a superhero landing? Wait for it! Woo! Superhero landing! Yeah, that's really hard on your knees.
Loved the band, loved Ember's reaction, and I like how she enjoyed the look of Ponyville, as in it wasn't all rocks and ash. Although after her allergic reaction to parts of it, it is now a little bit more ashy. And a bit more runny and screamy than usual. Oh, and earlier when I mentioned the humor potentials for this setup, well, such humor as this episode pulls off winds up being laugh-out-loud hilarious. A case in point.
Hey, Twilight! Actually, I'm Starlight. Starlight Glimmer. Nice to meet you.
The whole can't tell Starlight from Twilight thing strikes me as a touch of the meta-humor which this show can do so very well. Last episode was nothing but, and it was amusing, but I think I prefer how this episode does it, just a pinch or two here and there for a real kick in the humorous. Also, cool to see that Starlight and Ember like one another pretty well from the get-go. So, how about keeping Ember away from Thorax? Uh-oh, evasions don't work on Ember. She's off to see the Wizardess, the wonderful Wizardess of Friendship. So it's to the castle, and to a banquet.
So this is something friends do? I can get used to this. Actually, that's not food.
Dragons love gems.
Fine, but you're telling Twilight what happened to her wall.
You know, if you just told Ember that the place settings, and for that matter the walls, were intended as decoration, not food, I'm sure she'd be fine with not devouring the crystal. Then again, one of the big themes of this episode, indeed the big theme of this episode, is that by not talking to your friends, trouble happens. So kudos to them for hammering the point home once again. Meanwhile, Thorax is being distracted by Twilight's improvised "I like chairs" castle tour. And here's Spike, ditching his friend Thorax yet again to drag Twilight away and explain the current business with Ember. Really, everything's spiraling out of control. The whole attempted double deception juggle the two visitors so neither knows the other is here thing just isn't working. While not exactly suspicious, at least not in the sense of suspecting that Spike and company are concealing another guest, both Thorax and Ember are being neglected, and each wasn't just here for a casual visit. Each came with problems, seeking help from their friends. These wacky sitcom scenes aren't helping matters. The situation is on track for some real badness if things don't turn around, and quickly. How bad?
Ah! What's happening? Ah!
I think it's the math. It's calling you. Apparently you also have to solve a friendship problem.
This show can do subtle well. This isn't subtle. Spike has sparked a major friendship problem. Spike needs to fix it. Episode conflict count? Now up to 3. Ember's problem, Thorax's problem, and the friendship problem Spike is causing. You'll need some pony, or rather some dragon, who's a real triple threat to manage this triple trouble. But we've got Spike. The nature of the problem is clear to us, the viewer. The solution likewise seems clear enough, again to those of us on the outside. Spike and company aren't on the outside. They're caught up in events. and the whole, quick, improvise a solution to this emerging problem right now. Ah, good, that solved this problem, but, oh no, that's caused 2 new problems to which I must now improvise a solution dealio, can be a very difficult cycle to break out of, even with a magical crystal map giving you a kick in your scaly pants. So, missing the point entirely, Spike sets off into town searching for a friendship problem, while Starlight and Twilight attempt to keep Thorax and Ember entertained and apart. You know, I can almost feel the Tree of Harmony face a thing, and it has neither face nor hooves with which to perform such an action. Events unfold as one might expect. Spike finds some minor friendship problems around town, fixes them. Nothing happens in terms of the usual quest complete map-related notification. Attempts to keep Thorax and Ember apart are successful in that Starlight and Twilight manage to keep them from actually running into one another, but are failing badly at keeping the 2 visitors entertained, much less helping them with their own worries and problems. Even when Spike does sit down with Thorax, he's so distracted by worry that he doesn't really listen to his friend's troubles, which are both substantial and world lore-orific. So apparently, even within Thorax's hive, there are still rogue changelings who don't want to give up the feast on love, bad old ways. And that's just within the now Sealy Court hive ruled by King Oberon. Thorax. I wonder how many other un-Sealy Court changelings still exist. Other hives, perhaps? At least one coming under the sway of a certain wicked queen. And tucked away in there is the mention of a bit of family history. One of Thorax's brothers is apparently a troublemaker. I wouldn't be surprised, really. From what we saw in flashback of Thorax's childhood, the clutch of eggs from which his brood spawned looked to be at least a few dozen, if not a few hundred strong. Theoretically, assuming the changeling hive functions in as insectoid a way as it seems to, pretty much all of that hive's changelings would be at least half-brother or half-sister to Thorax. They all have the same mother, Chrysalis, after all. But I'm guessing that in speaking of a brother, he's speaking of someone that he considers close, a broodmate or clutchmate from Thorax's own hatching time. And really, one black sheep out of an immediate family of 100? Not bad going with the whole Reformation thing, Thorax. But I digress. Yet more great humor from Ember, who's still having trouble acclimating to how ponykind does the whole friendship thing. The earlier misunderstanding about the nature of edible walls back in the castle leads to the most bewildered derpy I have ever seen.
Ah, I get it. This is a weird friendship thing you ponies do, right?
And yet more comedy gold on the whole Ember can't tell Starlight and Twilight apart thing.
I'm Starlight.
Right. I'm sorry, but you can't blame me. You both look and act so much alike.
What?
Spike's put on the spot when he ditches Thorax to step into the middle of that argument. And, well, Ember gets a little heated, as dragons are wont to do, and her angry outburst is noted by Thorax. While Thorax is a gentle, kindly, wouldn't hurt a fly sort of a changeling under normal circumstances, you don't mess with his friends. Looks like things are on track for that dragon changeling war Spike was so worried about causing.
My worst fears are happening!
Thankfully, both Ember and Thorax realize they are leaping to defend Spike from one another, and neither is, in fact, intent on harming the little dragon. They're mostly just confused now, and wondering why Spike thinks there was going to be fighting.
Oh, hey, you guys aren't fighting?
Why would we be fighting?
Because I accidentally invited you both over to Ponyville on the same day?
So what?
Thank you. Of course, Spike's bumbling missteps along the way don't make resolving the situation that easy. Ember is troubled because she's kinda bad at friendship, and was here seeking help with that, and the way Spike acted towards her only serves to reinforce her internal fear and worry, that not only is she bad at friendship, but everyone else knows it and judges her on it already. As for Thorax, he's having difficulty standing up for himself and his ideas, and Spike's decision to try to keep him away from such a hot-headed, fierce, and driven personality as Ember likewise only reinforces Thorax's fears that others won't take the changeling leader seriously. So with everything out in the open, now everyone is mad. Good going, Spike. No wait, strike that. Make it bad going, Spike. What's to be done about it?
Why are you still here?
Because I'm having trouble leading my pack, so I don't really want to go home.
Wait, you're in charge? Oh, boy, you need to be more assertive. Apparently not happy.
That's because that kind of competition can divide you, and it doesn't get to the heart of the issue. Talking about your feelings does.
I think I'm allergic to feelings.
You know, you don't have to be sappy or huggy-feely about it, but you should let your friends know how you feel.
I know where we can start.
Where? Oh, Spike. I got there.
Indeed, Thorax. This episode does seem to be one where, after some slow on the uptake moments, everyone does get there eventually. Ember and Thorax confront Spike, each expressing how and why they are upset with their friend, and both Thorax and Ember claiming friendship with one another as well. As for Spike, he's already learned his lesson, and he apologizes. Crisis averted.
Again?
No way! It's finally happening! I solved the friendship problem!
Actually, you created the friendship problem by not trusting your friends.
Yeah, but then I solved it by learning my lesson. I should have told my two friends about each other immediately, instead of assuming they wouldn't get along.
Good job, Spike.
Is this another part of pony friendship? Telling each other what you learned all the time?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yep.
And a touch of meta-humor to close us out. On the whole, an enjoyable episode. Not my favorite for the season. It seemed a little too much of a mix-mash of some not entirely complementary styles of humor for me. But the lesson was good, and there were plenty of laugh-out-loud bits scattered throughout. Plus, hints of world-building with the changeling gossip, so color me amused, and eager to see what comes next. If you wish to see my full reaction to My Little Pony Friendship is Magic Season 7, Episode 15, titled Triple Threat, the link, as I mentioned earlier, is in the description. Feel free to leave any comments or likes for that reaction here on this Afterthoughts review. And until next time, as always, kindly remember, y'all are awesome. Stay awesome.